My fingers are dry. So, we're here. Catherine and Rhonda, mother-daughter.
Oh,
Oops,
and she's
knocking-
breaking things with her
knocking
old lady
shit
hands.
over. Yeah, exactly. So, I'm gonna back this up a bit so that
Yeah, don't pack it too much because they're like just on
I
the
know.
edge.
I
was gonna
see
say, you
it's
could
just
go
right there.
Look at a very different view.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. So has anyone else been feeling topsy-turvy?
Yeah.
Welcome to anything, everything.
And nothing at all.
There you go.
I feel like this will be a nothing at all type of day. I think we're both burger. Wow, you're a king or queen.
Can you tell what I had for dinner last night?
Burger King.
Burger King.
I haven't had Burger King in years. I don't really like Burger King.
I love their Whoppers. And I was there and she's like, do you want a crown? And I'm like,
I love that.
I'm like, do I want a crown? I'm like, yes, I do want a crown.
This is no to wanting a crown.
I know. It doesn't fit very well, but that's okay.
Well, we have large heads.
We do. In our family, we have large heads.
I know.
Big heads.
Big heads.
Holds all the knowledge we have.
Yeah, that's what we tell ourselves. I would not say I
And
have
my
a lot of
mother
knowledge
was
on
very
this.
smart. Extremely smart. Like, you know, we say Marcel, my son, her brother.
He's very smart.
He's evil genius level smart. Well, my mom was there too.
Yeah.
He comes by it honestly.
Yeah, I can see that. And he also has a very large head.
Yeah. You know, Papa has a small head, but
He
Papa's
does have-
very...
He has a very dainty
Oh,
head.
he's a mother's dream.
Yeah, yeah. It's very
Do
tiny.
other women look at that, like look at people's heads and go, oh my God, someone gave birth to that?
I feel like it depends on the person head. Like if it's like
Yeah.
abnormally large, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Or sometimes it's just all head. That's
Yeah.
it. It's just head and then shoulders, and you're like,
Like they said on Seinfeld, face like a frying pan
Oh
when they
my
were
God.
describing Elaine. It's like, I'm like, when they said that, I'm like, I can totally see that.
I can see it too. I know you say, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see that. There's so many people like that for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, Papa has a small, but Papa's extremely smart.
He's very smart. So the size doesn't matter.
No,
So
it doesn't. But we like to think it does because we're big-headed
Big
people.
head. We have to justify the large head and why we can barely find hats to fit
In our family, we know most of us are big-headed people, and we're big pants people too.
big pants, big shirts, big underwear, big socks. No, it's just big everything.
Yeah, big everything. Yeah, life is better, bigger
Most of the time.
most of the time.
Most of the time. Depends on who you ask, I guess.
I suppose, yes, I suppose. But yeah, we weren't sure what we were getting on here to do, so we did Halloween.
Halloween. Yeah, American Thanksgiving
Yeah.
is coming up.
It's coming
But
up.
we don't-
Remembrance Day is coming up.
Remembrance Day, yes.
The only way we as Canadians mark American Thanksgiving is Black Friday sales.
100%.
It's come up here full
it's
on.
super, yeah.
But it's not as good as you would think. Like,
It's never as good as you think.
you
Same
know,
with
like
Boxing
it's not,
Day.
Yeah,
It's never as
Like,
good.
I mean, yes, the wrapping and stuff
There's
like
like
that.
certain
half
things,
price
like
at
electronics
Boxing Day.
are usually good, like and cell phone sales, because I end up obviously being in a cell
Cell phone, yeah.
like that's
But
a good
even-
time. But even still, school like
Back
sometimes
to school is better.
back to school can sometimes be better. But
Yeah.
Black Friday, usually I know always tells people Black Friday is the kind of the time to go,
Right.
if you want to
right.
get like a new like
Yeah.
if you're wanting to get something like
But
that.
everyone seems to be having a Black Friday sale these days. And sometimes it's like, you know, like 20%. Do you think that's a good percentage?
I don't know. I guess
Like, do you get it? Tell us. Leave in the comments.
what's-
Do you get excited about a 20% discount off of, you know, whatever?
it depends
or would
on
you
what
get
it is.
more? I mean, I know there's stuff that's more marked up than other things, like
Yeah.
jewelry and clothing
yeah
is more
I think
marked
that's
up,
the
so they have
problem, though.
more leeway.
You do. I think it depends on what it is. And like you've seen in situations where stores will also like slowly increase the price before a sale will happen.
Oh,
And
that's
then,
true. I've heard
then
about
they'll-
that.
Then they'll reduce it. But
Yeah.
but there's some stores who do it all the time. Like their markups crazy. Like for instance, Michael's, which I love to shop at.
Yeah, me too.
And it's hard not to because there's not
I
many.
would just like the whole Michael's store in my house. Is that wrong?
maybe. I mean, where would you put it? Oh.
Yeah.
I'm like, you
I
have a
know.
whole store
Yeah.
in your house. That's
But
a
wouldn't
lot.
that be amazing
That
to
would be
open a
amazing.
couple of doors and be like, here's my craft room.
There's some people who have that though. That like
I
have,
do. I do.
I have a lot of craft stuff. I've had to reduce it a lot. Too,
Yeah, I'm actually in the middle of purging right now.
I just don't do it enough. So I've gotten to the point of like, unless I'm actually actively doing it, I'm
Yeah.
not going to I'm not going to hoard anything.
Right.
Because like
right,
ideally can hopefully get
right.
whatever's I need
Yeah,
when I need
yeah.
it, kind of.
True. Although when something's on sale, like yarn,
Yeah, there
I
is
do
times.
tend to stack up on that. So I have a yarn cupboard
Yeah.
so that I can just, because sometimes like it's also where I change my clothes and stuff. It's where I keep my clothes.
Yeah.
So sometimes as I'm changing, I kind of see a couple of balls of yarn and go, oh, these two would match perfectly. I'm going to make a blanket
I
or
wanna
whatever.
Yeah, I have some yarn. I got some yarn given to me from my landlord because her sister-in-law had to go like into a home, so they're downsizing her place.
Right.
And she's like, I know you do crafts. So she's like, could you use this? I'm like, actually, yeah, I could use some of this stuff. I might as well take it. It's hard
Yeah.
to say no to free craft
I
stuff.
know, right? Yeah,
It
that's
needs to
true.
be washed out because it was a bit musty, but otherwise
okay.
it was fine.
Right.
But like Michael's, for instance, it has like the regular coupons of like 30 to 40. They don't do as much as they used to because before COVID, they used to do 50 to 60.
Yes, they did.
And they've changed that now. You can sometimes get 50, but it's like very rare.
And
it's
I always get tricked at Michael's too because they have the American price bigger than the Canadian
maybe
price.
I've never. Oh yes, on the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've learned over time. I always look for the cat, and then
Yeah, I mean I've learned, but there's times where I just take a quick boo and I'm
And
like,
you're like,
oh, it's $8.
I
No,
know.
it's actually 12.
Sometimes I feel jaded when I see that, but then at the
Yeah.
same time, like we're like, well, the exchange rate, Catherine, like it's
Yeah, but
not-
come on.
Yeah.
Like just figure it out and just put the Canadian price on there. Don't tease us with the
I
American
know
price.
it is kind of annoying. I get it, but I do agree. It's a little annoying, but they like obviously have a high markup.
Yeah.
Because they
can give a discount
why are they
on
get like
regular.
regularly their regular coupon is 30%.
Yeah,
one item
minimum. Yeah.
and then usually on like Thursdays to like Sundays they have like a 40% off coupon, and then every once in a while they have 50%.
Yeah, that's a unicorn now.
Yeah, that's a unicorn. But like, so that just goes to show like the markup is crazy.
Yeah,
because
before when you could get 60% off occasionally.
you could get occasionally. I remember getting stuff all the time for 50%. So like
Yeah.
I would often go.
I would go in, buy the thing I need.
For 50%, yeah.
Go the next day, buy another thing I need.
100%. I used to get like some of my more expensive art supplies I got with the 50% off coupon.
Right.
So like I can't get it cheaper anywhere else. Like,
Exactly.
This is a great deal. Yeah.
exactly.
Like some of my nice oil paints, watercolor paints, pencil
So,
crayons.
do you find with crafts, because I do this, do you rotate? Because I, like, some days I want to cross stitch, some days I want to crochet, other days I have the urge to do a junk journal or junk journaling of some kind.
I think I used to do it. I used to switch out more. Like when I had
Mm-hmm.
more space, I didn't have kids, I didn't live in a small apartment, and I had more time and energy.
Nothing
to
like children to kill the craft spirit.
yeah, to really suck the joy out of you. No, I love my kids; they're great, and they're very artsy. So that's a
That's
blessing.
true. So if you drag something out, they want to be a part of
That's
it.
yeah. So that's only that's the other crutch though. Is like because sometimes I've used some of my very expensive stuff. And I'm well, I'd say goodbye to that. So
I went out and bought cheap markers for when the girls
you have
came over.
to, yeah.
So that it's like, don't use my good ones.
Well, they like took one of my good so not I wouldn't say one of my really good, but a more nicer like pencil crayon kit I had.
Oh.
And now I don't know where any of it is. Like,
Oh, God, yes.
So
yes.
that was kind of annoying, but I'm like, at the end of the time, it's like, am I going to remember this 20 years down the road? Probably not. So it's really not.
You'll probably still talk about it. Like,
I mean-
I remember when you won't talk about it with malice or anything,
Yeah.
but you'll still remember.
I'll probably still remember, but honestly, like, it wasn't like the best. If it was like a
Right.
super good quality, I would have been like, oh my God. But like, it was like me.
hanging it over their head for years
Yeah.
to come.
You bet.
Part of their graduation and wedding speeches will be included
Exactly. If they mess with like, my silk hand dyed floss from Spain,
in it. Oh yeah.
then I would be losing my
yeah.
living.
Yeah. 100%. I get that. Like,
But like they're usually very good. Like they've learned from an early age because
Yeah.
for the cross stitching, don't touch. They know.
Yes.
They've learned like that because that's one of those
but
things.
also too, it's a little bit of a safety thing because you never know what the needle might be.
Well,
and they grab it the wrong corner
and
or whatever.
so that's something they've learned early on because I've been cross stitching since I've been pregnant with Luce.
Right.
But yeah, I find that now that I have kids, I have like a few things I stick with, and I kind of go through phases. But I typically stick with cross stitching, as you know, is my biggest one.
Yeah, because she's Stitchy Goddess on social media.
Social media, yeah.
And
I
she
have a
does have some
business and
patterns,
Etsy
yeah.
and patterns, and you can
things.
check that out.
Yeah, if you're a Bob's Burgers fan.
Yeah, Bob's Burgers. I have Hocus Pocus.
Oh,
I
that's
have,
right, yeah.
I'm working on a Beetlejuice one that I've been working on for forever, but it will get done.
Coming soon.
Coming soon, as I've said for like 2 years. It's coming.
Oh my goodness.
But so I find like usually do cross stitch. I also have like that. There's like this. I can't think of how you say the brand name, but like a felting kind of embroidery thing I like to do.
Oh, okay.
And
Did you ever figure out the spinning?
I haven't yet. It's still on my thing.
Oh,
I
okay.
keep thinking like, oh, I gotta work on. I was doing a little bit,
and I found it really frustrating. I don't know if I'd be better like with someone who knows how to do it to instruct me.
I have to watch more videos because I haven't had
Yeah.
a chance to sit down properly and look at a video.
Yeah.
Because you're not as good for following people. You need to see it in person. Where I don't need that same.
Yeah, I've checked out a couple of videos. They make it look easy.
They
not.
always make it look easy. They're always like this.
But
is...
I'm like, I wonder if a spinning wheel would be easier because I've watched a few with the spinning wheel, and it seems a little easier. Now I am a total noob at this, so
Yeah.
I have no spinning experience. I have no knowledge or anything. I'm very crafty,
Yeah.
just as you are.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. I've only done a little bit, but I tried to do it while I was like taking the kids to the park a few times.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, this is not the
Yeah,
effective time to learn.
Because you're supposed to be able to walk and do it.
Well,
right?
exactly. I'm like, I think you can eventually once you get the hang of it, but
Yes.
I didn't like have enough knowledge on hand to be
Yeah.
like, I know how to do this. I was starting to get the hang of it slightly, but I think I need to watch more videos to get a
Well,
better
also too,
idea.
there's a guild in Kingston. That's
Yes,
you
that's
know,
what we were.
the girl that
when we were
or
showing,
the lady
yeah,
that showed us. We should almost go to a couple of their
things. That's a good idea.
yeah, and they're pros at it.
Yeah, she
So-
made it seem so easy. And
I
she's
know,
like-
she was just sitting
and
there.
she's like, you can do
I'm
whatever
like,
you want. It's so cheap. And then she's like, oh, this one's really expensive though because there's all these bells and whistles. I'm like, and what are those bells and whistles? Like, it
Yeah.
looks like the same to
Now
me.
from the videos, I have realized that getting a proper spinner is the way to go.
Yeah.
You can make a cheap one with the CDs like she was
I
showing
wouldn't
us.
want to though. I
Yeah.
find like I like ours because it seemed like pretty basic,
Yeah, but good
beginner, yeah,
authentic
quality.
spinner kind of thing. Yeah.
Nothing seems like it's gonna fall apart on it.
Yeah,
Like,
because there's special notches. So
I've heard I don't know too much about the notches, but someone
No, me neither.
spoke about notches, and I was like, oh, there's.
I heard the word notches.
I heard like something about around the world, and I was like, there's like phrases that I'm not sure about, but I'll figure it out.
right,
It
right.
keeps sitting in my big pile of craft stuff that I have by my table.
Yes. Well, part of, as I said earlier, I'm purging my craft room.
Yeah.
So I am bad for whatever I'm working on, I bring it out to the living room. So then my living room table gets all stacked with the craft stuff, and I'm like, so I'm purging that too because Christmas is coming. I
Yeah.
know some people are like,
oh
oh no.
Some people don't like Christmas too soon. We are
a Christmas family.
We are a Christmas family, always been a Christmas family, and we
Yeah.
celebrate Christmas very early.
Yes. Well, I loved your meme the other day of, this is me at Halloween. You're dressed as a ghost with a hot chocolate and trick-or-treat stuff behind you. And this is me November 1st. You're still dressed in the ghost costume, but you've got a Christmas tree behind you.
Exactly. I
And
know.
it's like, oh, I totally identified
I
with
know.
that.
I saw one that was like even funnier. I don't know if you saw. I also posted up where it was the ghost and the Christmas. So they had they were like dressed as a ghost, and I think they had like a hot chocolate or something. But they also had a treat bag, but they also had a Santa hat on it. So it was like the idea is like you're both in Christmas and Halloween. And I'm like, that's very
Well,
much
for
me.
me, Halloween is a lifestyle. Christmas is a celebration.
She's like, I do Halloween every day. It's not
Well,
that.
yeah, I mean, look at
I was
the
gonna
way
say,
I've decorated.
I was to say you live in a Halloween store, basically,
Yeah.
essentially, or what people would deem as a Halloween store.
Yeah, a lot of people do, and a lot of people that love Halloween, they use Halloween as the time to buy their home decorations.
It's true, especially when it goes on sale.
Yeah, exactly. No, I heard Spirit Halloween is supposed to be also doing Christmas.
That's a U.S. only. I heard.
oh, U.S. only.
Only U.S.
okay.
only. U.S. always gets that stuff.
Yeah, that's too bad.
But yeah, I know. I'm like that would be very popular in Canada. So I'm
Yeah.
surprised. Maybe because it's I think a newer thing, so that's oftentimes it might just be trying out there, and then
oh, maybe
maybe in a year or two we'll get in Canada. I don't
Yeah,
know. It depends
yeah.
on how things go, but
So speaking of crafts and Christmas and all that
Crafts
good
and
stuff,
Christmas.
got anything in mind as a crafter?
as a crafter, well, currently I'm working on some cross stitch ornaments that I got
Oh, nice.
from Mill Hill.
Nice, very nice.
So I'm working on a Christmas sled,
Yeah.
and it has beads and stuff. So like Mill Hill is just like perforated paper,
Oh, okay.
so hold paper, right?
Right.
Like thick paper. So it's
Yeah,
all good.
it's like okay.
Like a
my hand
thicker-
was a little sticky and
Yeah.
wet, so it melted. This
So it's
bit
like
of
a
the
thicker
paper.
cardstock, so you're not like likely to like tear it, right?
Right. Yeah. Makes
So I have
sense.
that, and then I
Which
also,
is it's sort of like, the plastic canvas you can get.
oh yeah, kind of, but
Yeah.
more delicate. You have to be even more delicate because it can rip because it is paper. Like,
yeah. So I'm like, well, that would give a nice delicate look.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, the plastic canvas. I've been a vendor at enough craft shows. I don't do them anymore, but the plastic canvas for a while was huge.
It is big. It depends
And-
on how you use it. Because I've seen some ones that look really nice. So I
I've
think
seen
it doesn't
some that
matter.
look really nice, but for the majority, I've seen stuff that looks cheap.
I think it's also depending on like what you use and if you are doing enough coverage. Because some people will cheap out and just be like, "Well, it's clear, so it doesn't really matter." It's like, no.
Or maybe that's how the kit came and
Yeah,
the
exactly.
kit was cheap or whatever.
Exactly. So it's like I think it's if you're gonna use something like that, you want full coverage, so you're not really
At one
seeing.
of the shows, there was a lady that was doing plastic canvas, and she had plastic canvas cigarette holders, and she had put a little holder for the lighter.
Oh my
And
God.
they were covering her table.
Wow, that's like a very specific niche craft item.
Yeah, right? She sold a few, but mind you, this is going back 20 years.
So it was like at that point, that was a time where people might want that.
yeah, but some people were like, "Oh, that's a neat idea," and then they'd put it back down.
Like, oh, that's so nice.
Because it's not as classy as the cigarette holder that you pop open.
Well,
the gold ones or
yeah,
whatever.
the metal ones are a little more classy.
Yeah, and then she puts it in the long holder on the cigarette.
Oh my God.
Like Cruella.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what purpose that serves. If it's just I don't want the ashes too close to me, or
I don't know.
does it, change the experience? Does it filter it a little more?
I have
Do you
no
have to suck
idea.
harder to get the smoke down or whatever?
I'm sure all of those could be valid reasons for why you have that. Just to look extra fancy.
Yeah, right. I mean, you gotta kind of be like, oh,
To get
she
in
must
people's
be
faces so they stay away from you.
you. Hey, you.
Like 6 feet away.
That's right. But it's always like villains that have that.
Yeah. Well, no, but like in Audrey, I mean, I guess you could say Audrey could
Oh.
have been considered somewhat of a villain, but I mean, Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah. I forgot about that. But
And not Audrey Hepburn as the villain, but in
yes, in the movie,
Breakfast at Tiffany,
she has that. Yeah.
kind of. But she, she's supposed to be kind of like I wouldn't say she's a villain, but I mean,
No.
you could paint maybe.
She's an antagonist.
Yes, that's probably a good way. But I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely. So I guess it could be all villains in some ways if you're loosely. I was like, oh, but
Annoying people.
annoying people. So I'm trying to think, because you think of like, was it 1,000 Dalmatian? No.
Yeah, Cruella.
Cruella de Vil, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else.
Sharon Stone, I saw a movie where she has it. She plays a rich woman, and she's got a son who's lost his arms and his legs.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called now. Oh,
I
that's
don't
terrible.
recognize that movie. I feel like I would have someone lost
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Can you imagine losing both your arms? I mean, that it does happen
Oh,
to
it's
people.
Ratchet.
Ratchet. I
Yeah.
don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, it's a TV.
It's so ratchet.
So it's about a nurse and she's in a
Oh.
hospital. I think it's an insane asylum if I remember. Yes, it is. So yeah, I don't want to give away the series. But it's
oh.
good if you enjoy that sort of stuff.
I don't think I've watched that.
It's borderline horror. It's not really horror. It's more. It's not really thriller though either. It's sort of a little bit of both in a more subtle
way, not like in your face.
No, it's not.
That's not kind of the main
no
aspect of it.
But there's a few parts that are like, oh dear, But
Yeesh.
but it's part of the story. I don't mind
yeah.
some gore if it's adding to the story
Yeah.
and it's not just gratuitous gore.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't like
and
when
the same
it's too
thing
much.
with nudity or anything else. Like,
Anything, yeah. There's
if it
definitely.
adds to the story, then great. I don't mind seeing full frontal nudity if it's adding to the story.
But if it's just to show off some boobs or whatever.
Or for shock value or whatever.
There's a lot of things in movies I find for shock value. And
Oh,
I kinda
absolutely. Yeah.
Do
Why?
we-
Why is that? Why did we go there?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of things in movies these days are kind of like unnecessary.
Yeah.
Although I'm not as up to my my media for that, so
Right. Well,
I'm
we
behind.
watch, TV every night, right? So, Papa keeps talking about. My husband keeps talking about. We should read more. I'm like, I read plenty. I read during the day when I
You
get a
need to
chance.
read more.
Yeah, he always uses that's a sweeping statement in and of itself, but he often uses the royal we. We should do this and we should do that. And I'm like, well, every night when I go to bed, I'm reading a book. And sometimes I'm reading for far too long.
Sometimes I stay up so late that the sun comes up again. Yeah. I think, oh, I guess it's morning.
Maybe I can get a little shut-eye for about an hour.
Maybe. We don't know.
But Papa usually goes to sleep before I do, but he scrolls.
Oh.
Once in a while, he'll bring a book in or
you
have
can't
his
scroll,
reader.
because once you start scrolling, you get sucked right in, and then
I
that's
do
it.
that in the morning.
I can be bad sometimes. I have moments.
Yeah, that's my time when I start scrolling, or sometimes in the day if it's slow here and I'm
and then you're just
just
kind of
bored,
mindless.
and I'm like, well, I have to check my social medias anyways, and then I start
then before you know it,
scrolling.
you're
And
20 reels deep into God knows what, and you've somehow wound up into the
You
trad wife.
changed your algorithm
So, yeah.
completely, and it's like, why do I
Oh.
keep getting posse clown stuff?
I'm bad. And it's usually pretty good though, because he'll be like, "Oh, what are you up to?" Or if he's home with me, he's like, "Okay, put your phone down, read," because he knows I'll be mad if I don't read enough. Since I read so often.
Yeah.
Because we don't watch TV a lot. The kids put TV on, so they'll
Oh,
always have the
that's-
TV
yeah.
on for them, and then usually at dinner we'll watch a Bob's or something.
Oh, okay.
Is usually our thing, or we'll have a movie on the kids want to watch.
Right.
But then once they go to bed, the TV's off, and we maybe will watch an episode of something. Maybe for watching Only Murders in the Building was our show that we've been watching, so we had been
Right.
watching an episode here and there.
Oh,
And we
okay.
just finished that. So we haven't watched anything yet,
Oh,
and I've just
okay.
been studying for his exam. So we definitely. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really bother me because he often does his own thing.
Yeah.
And then I'll just sit and read, or I'll cross stitch, or whatever I'm doing that night.
Right.
And occasionally I'll watch a TV, but even then I'll put my book onto audio, and then I'll just listen to my book while I do whatever I'm doing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
we don't watch tons of TV, so we're super behind on
Oh, okay.
everything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It does become a little overwhelming sometimes.
It's too much
When
sometimes.
we've got every streaming thing you can stream almost, it seems like.
We do too, considering we don't watch them.
And sometimes you're like, oh, well, I haven't watched this. You put it on your list, right?
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you have 50 things on your list, and then you feel like I haven't been keeping up with my homework.
I'm so far behind.
I gotta
Watch
watch
this.
this.
Mad at me.
Yeah.
So I don't watch that season of whatever stupid show.
Exactly. Now we have been watching. Oh, what's it called? It's with a guy. He's a journalist, and he does a lot of archaeology stuff, but he does outside the box, not the way you think it would be. So one of the episodes, it's on Netflix.
It's on
Put it in the
Netflix.
comments if you know what I'm talking about. And I really like it because I feel like I'm educating myself as well as watching TV. So one of the
you
things.
justify the TV by I'm being
yes.
smarter because I'm learning.
But also too,
I'm
you
learning
have
some-
to be entertained.
Yes.
Right? At some point.
Are you entertained?
That's right. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. He was talking about how there's proof that a lot of the megafauna, which is the big, we used to have giraffes and
Yeah.
elephants over in North America and South America.
Oh, okay.
So we had these, and saber-toothed tigers.
All those
and,
things until the land's probably.
Well, until the Ice Age came.
Oh yeah, cleared everything.
And it was not the Ice Age, it was when it melted.
oh,
Because they
the
can
water.
prove there was a flood worldwide,
Well, yeah.
basically.
Well, and I saw something
But
recently.
the weird thing is, they always thought mankind was never around when these big dinosaurs and things like that were around. But they've got footprints of man
I think I heard that.
beside this mega fauna. And it was like, we were walking around with these things? Like,
Can you imagine? I saw this thing actually talking about the meteorite that hit for the ice age, and it apparently landed in water because they
okay.
had don't get on me. I don't know all the science.
Yeah, I know.
But they,
We're not talking on a
was-
science way.
there was ways-
We are not archaeologists or scientists
or smart in that way. And anyway, I mean, there's a lot. If you want me to show you any kind of cross stitch thing, boy howdy, can I?
Yeah, she's your girl.
Science. I mean, I like science. I love sci-fi. I am not good at it.
I understand a small portion of it.
Big terms.
So we're
paraphrasing.
in a big way.
Yeah, but there was anyways, they've been able to determine there's a way to figure that out, and they've been able to measure it.
I say this right after I say I like to watch this show. It educates me. And I'm like, I don't know the facts for sure, but here's what I've heard.
Here's what I've heard, because I watched it on this show it's fictional, but
No, it's not fictional.
Is it not fictional?
No,
it's
no.
legit.
Legit.
Oh.
And he goes to actual.
Oh, so you are
archaeological-
learning.
I am learning. I'm just not very good at regurgitating what I've learned.
I feel that. I feel that.
I might have to watch it a few more times before I get it down.
She needs to watch her educational show multiple times.
That's right. Sometimes I have to watch movies multiple times because there's times where, like last night, we watched Mind Cage, with John Malkovich,
Oh, okay. Yes.
and Papa was like, "Well, we've already watched it." So I'm like, "Well, it's like a first time for me."
It's already been wiped clean. I have no memory of this
I'm
movie.
like, I had oh yeah, this seems familiar, but I had no idea how it finished.
Oh my god. Ina can be bad for that. He's like, I'm very good at remembering stuff in that sense. Like when we're watching shows, I'm like, oh yeah, all this. Because I'm good at world building too. So I'm good at keeping up with stuff. Like
Okay,
that.
yeah, me too. Papa gets lost.
Oh my god.
There's
Which is
so many
funny
shows
considering how
we-
much he loves to watch sci-fi, and sci-fi is all about world building and lots of character interjections and many layers of stories.
Intertwining and-
Yes.
Multiple universes, maybe.
For a man who loves that genre, you have to understand all that stuff, and he is not.
I cannot tell you the number of times, and I don't mind sci-fi. It's not my first
I
go-to,
love sci-fi.
but I'll watch it because a lot of times Papa has it
Yeah.
on. And he'll be like, "Is this the guy from that universe or that universe?" And I'll be like, "Well, it's this guy. He's from this universe. His wife is this one. His wife is that one in that universe, or something
Whatever,
like that."
yeah.
Right. And he gets so lost so easily. It's like, oh my god. But he tries to multitask. He thinks he can watch something on his computer screen and also watch TV.
he
and
doesn't have the brain for that.
No. And multitasking is a myth. And if
It's
anybody
very
can do
hard.
it, women are better at it, they say, because we're used to,
Naturally.
traditionally speaking, kids, food, cooking.
But even
cleaning.
still, there's still a limit to how much you can multitask.
Oh, of course.
Because sometimes I do it. I'm like, okay, either I'm dropping one thing, I'm
Yes.
something's falling over here, or I'm doing everything kind of half-ass.
Yeah,
nothing, or it
exactly.
takes way longer to get everything done.
Yes, but multitasking is a myth.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It's like, just focus on one thing at a time. And as I'm getting older, I'm finding it's better if I just focus on one thing.
Work on one task at a time.
Yeah, and
And then you get done well and you get done right. And,
yeah.
you
But
know.
my ADHD does kick in a little bit. I'm not diagnosed. This is self-diagnosed.
I mean, most people do that, right?
But on the way to the kitchen to do something, maybe I'll grab this that needs to be put away or
And do
something.
whatever, blah, blah, blah.
And as I'm walking around, I'll grab stuff.
Bea was asking me if I was ADHD because I always tell her oh, I'm not. I said idiosyncrasies because of growing up with people with ADHD. But then I was saying some stuff and I was getting distracted doing something. She's like, you say this a lot. You show a lot of ADHD tendencies. And I'm like, do I? As she was explaining some stuff, I'm like, I mean, that does kind of sound like me, but I'm just gonna live in my Delulu land that I'm not ADHD.
Well, when I found out as an ADHD person, you tend to like to keep things out that you want to focus on.
Yeah.
And you need, because I am really horrible for, if it's in a box, I've forgotten what's in there.
If it's tucked away, it's gone.
Yeah. And then I'll find it again. I'll be like, oh, this is what I've been looking for. I've since bought 3 of them.
People with ADHD have no object permanence.
Yeah. So I've tried to out trick myself, and I'll put labels on things that I can't see the inside of,
Yeah.
so that I know like
Where it is.
or I know like rather than looking through 10 boxes for whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm usually pretty good.
I'm pretty good if I put something somewhere and I'm like, okay, this is where this is.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I now know where that is.
Yeah.
And so, like, if someone asks me, oh, it's in this, like, drawer on the left side beside this. Like, I
Yes.
can recall, be like, oh, it's right
I know
here at this one.
everything that's in the kitchen drawers. I don't have to label those. I know exactly
Yeah.
what's in all kitchen drawers.
I usually do, except for when Ianda goes into the kitchen, which is a lot. And then
Yes.
and then the man has the audacity to tell me, like, well, I don't know where things go. I'm like, excuse me, you've lived with me. Like,
No.
am I the only adult in this kitchen?
Well, Papa tried to help me out a few weeks ago and put the dishes away that were
Oh.
drying.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, where did this go? What is this doing over here? It threw me off. I'm like, don't come into my kitchen.
Stay away.
Don't put the dishes away anymore because I need to know where everything is.
I think that's why Ianda doesn't put the dishes away, because he's very good for washing the dishes, which I appreciate because I hate washing dishes. But he'll just leave them there. And so I'm like, well, why don't you put them away? He's like, well, every time I put them away, I put them away wrong. I'm like, well, if you don't know where something goes, just ask. And
Yeah.
also, not much has changed in the, like,
Yeah.
almost 10 years we've lived here.
Yeah.
So it should be relatively in
Yeah.
the same spot. If it isn't in the same spot, I'll tell you, oh, actually, I've moved this over here. I've changed it out.
But rarely does something's home change.
It-
Everything has its home.
Everything
right?
has its home. And, like, sometimes some things are a little more loose than other. And, like, oh, as long as it's in here, that's fine, or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, sometimes, like, even the forks and the knives and the spoons, I'm like, what do we do in here, bro?
Yeah, right. They're even shaped for the utensil they're supposed
I know.
to be. Or at least there's like a fork left where the forks go.
Yeah.
And a spoon. So guess, where do you think the forks go?
I know. Well, I used to have it where I'd have, like, spoons, and we don't organize the spoons by size only because we only have enough
Yeah.
things for each thing.
that's
So
fair.
the spoons are all together.
Just all the spoons.
and then
go
we
there.
have small forks, big forks, and then all of our knives.
Okay.
And then every once in a while, he'll, like, if we, for whatever reason, we go, because we go through a lot of utensils. When you have kids, you go through tons.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's a time where there's no utensils. We have to wash all the utensils.
Yeah.
And he'll switch it up and he'll be like, knives, spoons,
Yeah.
small forks, big forks, or he'll put all the forks together and then he'll separate the spoons. And I'm like,
Oh
That's
my God!
not how we do that in
first of
this
all,
house.
You've been taking utensils out of this drawer
Yeah.
for yourself, for your children, for your wife. You didn't make a note that
I know. At this point, I'm just like, you know what? It's a small thing, and in the big picture, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just reorganize it. Like,
But still, in your mind, you're probably like, whoa! Like when you first open the drawer, you're
It
like,
does-
whoa! This is off-putting.
yeah, I'm always like, and sometimes like if he's really lazy, this is not him being lazy. It's just him trying to be efficient. But it's just like, what? It's not.
He just
He'll-
throws it
He'll
all
throw
together.
all together. He'll just throw it in, and I'm like, what? Like, what were we doing here?
Yeah, exactly. Come on, dude.
It's like, now we have to fish through the pile of utensils you've put in here and not even put in a nice pile. It's just like, sometimes it's like, it'll like go this way and he'll put them this way.
Oh.
And I'm like, why?
So
Why?
my utensil drawer, I've got forks that I like. Then I've got small forks because Papa likes small
I
forks.
like small
So
forks, to be
those are
honest.
Papa's
I have
forks.
specific forks I like.
And then I have all the spoons together like you. I just
Yeah,
put them all
I
together.
don't really worry about size too much.
I do have little tiny forks and spoons that are like meant for little.
Yes, I've seen those. And when I had to cut your turkey, that's
Yes.
literally all I had available to me.
And then I've got a thing for forks I don't like, but they're just extra forks because of Thanksgiving.
You just need forks, or like, I just need extras.
Exactly. And then Papa doesn't like knives, so I have a knife thing. He likes steak knives, no matter what it is. It could
Just
be
a steak-
spaghetti, and
I
I
was
would
gonna
have
say,
to-
I was gonna say, like, I get where he does knives, not liking knives, because I usually don't use a knife very often. I'll
Yeah.
use my fork
yeah,
to cut.
Yeah, I often use my
Um,
fork too, but he always wants a steak knife. He likes the steak
Steak
knife.
knife.
I don't know if it's more manly
Oh,
or
jeez.
what it is. You know, like it could be chicken. I'm joking with the spaghetti, of course, but it's pretty much anything that you're
That you would
giving
use.
him. Even things that you could just cut with your fork, he still wants the steak knife.
That's too much.
I
Ianda
know.
always uses a knife, and you sometimes, but even after like
I use
16
my hands a lot.
I eat with my hands a lot, and I use my fork a lot. I rarely use a knife. Rarely.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I don't use a knife, but they say if you eat with your hands, your
It's
body,
supposed to be better for you. I've heard
yeah,
that.
your body sort of registers when you're full.
Yeah, it's
better
like supposed to
than
be
with
like
fork and
another
knife.
sense or whatever that you're using or whatever.
Right, right. I don't know if there's truth to it, but I
We
enjoy
could be just
eating.
be bullshitting out of our ass. I don't know.
Yeah, there's no scientific proof on this.
At least
station.
not the, yeah. We just say stuff that we have no
On this
no
podcast.
peer review articles to support our claims. I'm sure someone could maybe
This
look it
might
up.
be put under nothing at all.
Yeah, this is nothing. We have no educational background to make ourselves experts on any information we provide you with.
Yeah, exactly. For entertainment purposes only.
Exactly, 100%. I know. I always laugh though, because even after like 16 years together, sometimes I will still give me a knife with dinner. And I'm like, why would you think I need a knife for this? Like, when have I ever used a knife for this?
Well,
But then
I have, like I said, I've got the forks divided into forks I don't like, forks I do like, and Papa's forks. And when Papa sometimes will serve me dinner or make dinner,
Yeah.
he brings me, he's been better about it lately because I've lashed at him. He'll bring me one of his forks. And I'm like, the forks.
You really don't like those little forks.
No, I don't.
I
Unless
know.
I'm eating a pie or a cake, because
Where
they're
you want
actually
some-
dessert forks.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
And I'm like, can you change the fork out? And I've even said to him, these are my forks, these are
Should
your
label
forks.
it Rhonda's forks, Mark's forks.
Oh, he wouldn't even see it.
That's true. It's true. That's very true.
Like, why are you bringing me this tiny
He's
little
very
fork?
oblivious to his surroundings.
Yes.
No, I had to laugh though, because I think, what was it? I think it was a hot turkey sandwich. I was like, well, I need a knife for that. And he's like, you.
What do you want me to pick?
I know. He's like, you use a fork for everything else in your life. He's like, but the hot turkey sandwich, that's when you have to have a knife.
That's my line right there. That's when I need the knife.
He's like, sometimes I'll have a knife for certain things. He's like, this is where you need a knife. I'm like, well, yeah, I need it just so I can have it. I think I boggle him for when I do need. I'm like, oh, I need a knife for this. Because sometimes he'll give me a fork. I'm like, oh, but I need a knife. He's like, you need a knife. This is when you need a knife.
You should do that with a pie or cake one time. I need a
Oh my
knife.
god, he would be like, what the hell? He would be like looking at me crazy. I think he would just walk out and leave over this.
It's like, oh my God, woman, you're so unpredictable. You keep them guessing.
I do. Never let them guess your next move.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I do that enough to him already.
Yeah. Well, it's good to keep them.
On their toes.
Yeah, have a little mystery.
Yeah. Mystery, more like insanity. Slowly
Yeah.
drive them to the edge.
That's what I like to call mystery. Insanity, mystery, it's all the same.
Or, call gaslight. That's also abuse. I don't know. How far are we going with this?
Yeah, right. Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think I'm pretty good about the gaslighting. That I don't do it.
No, I mean, like,
Not that I'm an expert at it. I'm an expert in
I'm pretty good at
gaslighting.
gaslight. I've worked on it for many years. Exactly 32 years that I've been married.
Can you imagine putting that on your resume though?
That you're a very good gaslighter. I mean, it's concerning. Some people are. I mean, it is a
Some
skill.
people are experts at it. Yes.
It is a skill. It is not a good skill. I mean,
No.
not a skill that actually helps people. Maybe
No.
yourself, but not people.
Yeah, and it doesn't really help yourself either, because
No.
you're then, you're
Putting
not
yourself in a position of constantly.
taking
manipulating.
ownership, and then therefore you're weakening yourself as well as weakening others too.
Yeah.
So it's not a good thing, boys and girls.
To not take accountability for your
Yeah.
actions, choices.
Own your shit.
Own your shit.
Own the good stuff. We all do that. Facebook is evidence of that.
Nothing but good stuff.
Yes.
And then sometimes bad stuff, but in a weird way.
But yes, exactly.
a weird way.
I mean, I get like sometimes you need support and you need to
Yeah.
know you're not alone in this and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, some people put their dirty laundry out there.
A little too much. I mean,
Or
I don't
they
mind the
just
tea.
put a little dirty laundry, but they don't give, like, they
Oh,
kind of.
those are the worst.
They are the
those are the
worst.
worst. I hate.
You know,
if you're
it's
one of
like-
those people, I hate you. Give me your tea. Give me your drama. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
I want.
Or like people that
trickling out.
I've removed the toxic people from my, life. That's great. That's good for you. But if you're not gonna you gotta name names here, people. You gotta tell me the situation of how come you're
Yeah.
cutting this person out.
Tell every little bit right
Like you
now.
said, all the drama. Either bring it all or none at all.
Exactly. That's why I like Reddit, because people just air all the
Yeah.
shit. And I'm like, yes, air it. I
Yeah.
want to hear it all.
Yes, yes.
I don't watch reality TV. I just go to Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit's great for that sort of stuff. We didn't do Reddit this time.
We didn't do Reddit this time. Although I did read, what was it? I read a crazy story, and it was a good one because it had like all the updates to like
Oh.
this. It was like a year-long thing.
Wow.
What was it? I think it was her. Oh, she ended up finding out her partner.
Was it starting out with, am I the asshole?
I don't think it was an asshole. I think it was a
Okay.
relationship advice one. Because she was like, basically found out that her husband and her best friend had been sleeping together.
Oh, why is it always the best friend?
I know, right? And what was it? But it was like this whole thing. Oh, I can't remember. It got to the point where he like left and the sister was her best friend was being crazy and like became really obsessed with her husband, and
Oh.
yeah, and then the ex-husband just basically pieced out of her and the kid's life for the most part.
Oh, wow.
But then she ended up getting with like the brother, her best friend, sorry, not the brother-in-law, her best friend's brother, who'd
Oh.
been in love with her for like since they were kids.
Oh, wow.
Anyways,
wow.
and it also resulted in like both her best friend being cut off from her parents and written out of the will.
Really?
Yeah.
Because she cheated with that guy.
Yeah, well, I guess like so.
With the husband, I mean.
I guess growing up, like so, her mom who had passed when she was young, and her best friend's mom were best friends growing up.
Oh, I see.
So then when her mom passed, her best friend's mom kind of took on this motherly role for her.
Oh, okay.
And so then when she kind of aired out what occurred,
Right.
she ended up telling them first before she even before she like confronted her best friend and her husband.
Oh, okay.
And so her
Stepmother, basically.
not stepmother.
Well,
Well, yeah, I guess like her mom's
adoptive mother.
and father were so upset. So they told her that they were cutting her off because I guess they were financially supporting her while she was going through a divorce from her husband.
So they ended up cutting off the best friend.
the
Okay.
best friend, and cutting her out of the will.
And cutting the
The best friend,
woman?
the best friend who cheated.
Oh,
So
okay.
like the parents of the best friend
Mm-hmm.
cut off their daughter, so that's
Yeah.
the best friend, from their will, and financially they were supporting her
Oh.
while she was going through a divorce herself.
Wow, she had a good deal going on there.
Yeah, they were like very helpful because they couldn't believe that that's like something she would do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think also, and the husband got pissed off because recently her like OP's father had passed, and with him passing, she ended up getting like a big inheritance, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But they checked to make sure like that before she did all this, she checked to make sure the inheritance like wouldn't go to him if they got divorced.
Right.
It wouldn't.
Right. Okay.
And so then he was all peeved off about all this happening and blamed the best friend for all of this coming out. And I'm like, it's
Well,
like
she became the scapegoat for a
yeah,
lot.
honestly, it was pretty bad. And so then that's when she confronted them, being like, "I know you've cheated." Like,
right. Yeah.
And,
And yeah, in that case, like they often say, you know, when someone cheats, and it's, you know, like if this guy is cheating, and it's not always guys, but let's just in this example say this guy's cheating with this girl. Sometimes the woman of that couple will get mad at the girl. Right?
Yeah.
And really it's the guy that owes the loyalty.
well, yeah.
This is-
I mean, in this situation, I can see being pissed off
But
because it's your
I was
best
going to
friend.
say, this is a different situation because your best friend should be loyal too.
Yeah.
So
a
your
best friend that you
should be
grew
mad.
up with, who's
Yeah.
like basically, and she said, like, essentially,
almost
it's his sister.
Sister, yeah. I mean, I know it happens, right?
Yeah.
Sisters, you know, will go.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen
yeah,
that.
and you know, I've seen, you know, sort of like people will flirt with each other and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just I get it why you'd be upset because
Yeah.
both of you owe me some loyalty, and
that's
neither one of you gave it to
Yeah,
me.
it's different. I think it's different not to like if the person is like a random person.
Yeah.
Totally, you have no.
You
have
should not
no
be getting
idea.
mad at that person.
Yeah.
But that's where you often want to put the anger
Well,
and the
because you
blame.
don't. Yeah, because you're like you don't want to get angry at the other person because there's always that kernel of hope. I think especially at the beginning.
Yes.
That maybe you can
Even at the end.
Yeah, reconcile this. Maybe we could work it through because depending on how long you've been with the person, and like especially if you're married or you have kids, like clearly you at some point had love and like
well,
for this
yeah,
person.
and even if you like say we're 30, 40 years in and someone cheats or whatever, you still have that hope. Like even if you've had like, okay, we've gone through a dry patch or
Yeah.
you know, we've been kind of drifting. I see that now.
Yeah.
But the person who's not cheating feels like, well, maybe
Maybe we
there's,
can- maybe
there's
we can-
still that
Yeah,
love.
yeah,
you know?
especially because they've been the one that didn't step out. So it's like
Yeah.
they're not like they haven't kind of in their mind mentally ended it. They're like
Yeah.
they're still in it actively.
Yeah, and maybe yes, you know, you've just been like, okay, whatever, you know, we haven't had sex, so we're not close, we don't hold hands, we're
Yeah.
not, you know, as lovey-dovey as we used to be, kind of thing. But you're still like, well, you know, don't rock the boat. You know, I don't want to be demanding and nagging. Hey, I need a hug. Hey, I need like what's going on.
Well, I think also too, you kind of get to that point where like, oh, I don't want to have to demand your love, but like
Yeah.
that also, it's important to communicate. Like it's one thing if you've
but the
communicated.
person stepping out will say, you weren't loving me, so
Yeah.
I went to look for it
and that's
elsewhere.
well, and exactly, and it's like, okay, but where was the communication of like
Absolutely.
that lack of, where was the effort? Like it takes two to like work on a relationship, and if something's lacking, it's you have to
And-
communicate. Like you know, as
Oh, absolutely. And in long-term relationships, it's really easy to get comfortable
yeah,
and to take for granted that this person's just going to be here
yeah.
all the time. Because you're like, you might be thinking, well, I don't want to break in a new whatever,
Well,
your
I
wife
think-
or husband or
Yeah,
whatever.
and I also think too,
I just trained this one how to pick the right fork.
God damn it, you still can't put it in the right spot though.
Exactly.
But I think the problem too with long term couples and like relationships is people also think like it always has to be hot and heavy all the time. Like you always
Yes.
think about that like beginning phase.
Yes,
where
you
you're
always want to take it back to that honeymoon
and
stage.
like you can sometimes, never quite to that same level maybe, but like
No.
there's definitely times
Nor
you
should
can,
you expect it.
No, because your love changes, but that's
Yeah.
a good thing. Like
It
you
is a good
change
thing.
together, because like guess what? Like just as fast as something burns, it can burn out, right?
Yes.
Like
passion burns out.
yeah, it's
And
like,
that's okay.
that's all right. Yeah, that's
You can bring passion back every
Yeah.
once in a while.
exactly, and it doesn't mean that you don't love. It doesn't mean you don't still have passion for each other. It just might not be as hot, but like
And
people-
TV shows and movies don't help.
No, people always look for that, like, you know, that immediate infatuation and like, oh, it's so, you know,
Yeah, because some
exciting
shows
in the
that you watch,
beginning.
there's so much sex happening. You're
Yeah.
like, do these people not eat? Do these people not do other things rather than
no
just
job,
going to
no
bed?
children.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you just don't feel well, like, or maybe you're just burnt out or touched out.
Yeah, exactly. And do these people never fart?
I fart all the time, but I'm just used to that.
But yeah, like I you know, I feel like TV shows don't help. I mean, yes, they're holding up an ideal sort of situation.
Well, and
and-
books too. Like
Yeah.
I am a big heavy romance book reader.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you have to remember, like, there's a difference between fiction and fantasy and, like, what you read versus, like, the reality, especially in a long-term relationship. Because most of the books I'm reading are not like, oh, they've been together for 16, 20, 30
Yeah.
plus years.
People don't write about the long-term relationships.
No,
'cause
it's
they
like-
get kind of boring
yeah,
after a while.
it's the beginning of, like, when you're first, like, feeling that lust and desire and that affection.
I mean,
and
maybe that's why it sells so much, because you're getting yourself back to that situation.
maybe, yeah.
You know, I'm not speaking of you
No, but I
personally,
think I could see that because
generally
there's lots
speaking.
of lots of, well, I don't want to say just women, but women are often
Yeah,
the biggest readers, but
yeah.
there are men too.
I've asked Papa, like, is there, you know, romance or a relationship in some of the sci-fi books you read? And he's like, there's sometimes a little bit.
Yeah, it depends on the book. I have, because I read mainly romance, I do read romance sci-fi.
Oh, okay.
So there are some really good ones.
Yeah, yeah.
There's more and more men who are getting into romance because their wives read it so much.
Well, and also, surprisingly, I know my mom was big on Harlequin books,
Yeah.
and that those were huge back in the day. And a lot of Harlequin writers were men. They were writing under a female
Name.
pen name, but yeah, they were men.
It's different now. Now it's a lot more women
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
yeah.
probably still men, but
Yeah, and like, you know, back in the day, even if we're going further back, women weren't allowed to write books.
no.
They were barely allowed to read them.
Yeah.
You know?
They had their own pen names,
Yeah.
but they were men names.
Yeah, yeah, because I was watching this true crime show. It was in the Appalachian, Virginia mountains, I believe,
Oh.
and it's sort of a unsolved case
Okay.
of a farmer and his wife, and they had 6 kids, and their house ended up burning down, and you can
Jeez.
find it
That's
on
like my
YouTube.
biggest fear.
And someone though had bludgeoned them to death
Oh my
first,
god.
and then set the house on fire. Like,
That's horrible.
they were very poor. I mean, they had a good crop that year, so the storyteller says. Appalachian Storyteller is the guy, so you can go and look
Okay.
it up. But where was I going with this?
Bludgeoned to death.
Bludgeoned to death, and they were
They're poor. They had a good yield in their crop.
she was the only one that survived because she was the oldest. So her name was Patsy, I think, and she was sleeping out in the barn, which was very common for older kids to do because it was a one-room shack they were in.
So you gotta
So-
make some room somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Out to the barn with ya.
Exactly, and she felt like she was not the favored
Survive.
child.
Oh.
But there's a couple guys that showed up at the farm, so their question, I mean, they all went to prison, all 3 of them, because apparently she had a menage a trois with these 2 strangers.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so-
My God.
It was like,
The
oh,
hell story is
oh my
this?
goodness. So yeah, it was just an interesting story, and I'm not sure why I was telling it.
I was
but
going to say, she went on this tangent on this random
here I go.
story.
Bye.
Well, we were talking about romance and writing, and mainly that men wrote Harlequins
Oh,
at first.
that was the thing. She was a little bit, I think, bitter because she wasn't allowed to go to school. That's why I was telling that story.
Oh.
Because the father, especially in those times, it was 1842 or something, or somewhere around there.
In that time frame.
In
okay.
that time frame. And girls, if you gave birth to a girl, they weren't as valued.
Yes.
So the second
rated on your
the
system.
second one born was a boy, and he was definitely favored, and he was given praise for everything he did. Meanwhile, she got up every morning, milked the cows,
Did all the shit and was
and then
basically
fed all the
unrecognized.
kids, because as the oldest, I'm the oldest of 7, so I get it.
I'm an oldest of 1. I know how to know.
Yeah, we both know how it is. You
Woke
tend
up
to
at the
be-
crack of dawn to feed my son.
That's right. They're only 13 months apart, so he wasn't that far behind you.
Woke up at
yeah.
crack of dawn to make his bottle.
You do tend to put, I was getting her to make his bottles at 6 months old. She was in there shaking it, shake it. It's been microwaved. There might be hot spots. She's like a 6-month-old kid, like, I can't have this. This is for my brother. It's like, yeah,
I'm so thirsty, Mom.
you don't get bottles anymore. You're cut off.
When you even talk at 6 months.
Yeah, I know, right? She was a very smart child.
Yes, very advanced for my age.
You don't even walk at 6 months. You were walking and talking. Microwaving baby bottles.
Exactly. See what I went through as a child.
So he was very praised, and she was feeding the kids and getting, after all her chores and stuff that she did on the
God.
farm, she would come in and have to make dinner. Now, I'm like, where the fuck is the mother in all of this?
Yeah.
Because, like, it made it sound like she was Cinderella or something.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, she probably had a lot of hard work, and she was probably not praised for it, nor was the wife. And I'm sure she worked with her
oftentimes
mother.
Women were considered like just proper. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
has much changed.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she was pregnant. She did have 6 kids, so maybe she was resting
she was
or
more,
whatever.
she was pregnant again.
Yeah,
the woman
maybe.
couldn't walk anymore because she
Because the
was
first
always on her back.
daughter and the second born son didn't seem that far apart in age, so it was probably like pump,
as
far
it usually was. And
Yeah.
when you're on a farm and
Yeah.
not a whole lot to do.
Yeah, exactly. Especially on those winter nights. But she was not allowed to go to school and learn how to read and write, and she was a little bitter about that.
I don't blame her. I
Yeah.
would be a little bitter about that too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go back in that.
I'm not sure. They didn't say that her brother went instead of her.
But she was just bitter that she
But,
couldn't go.
Yeah, she was. I mean, expand your universe and your horizons
Yeah,
and
have
stuff.
menage a trois. Blunt your family to death.
Yeah,
Burn the
whole
whole
place
place down.
Burn the motherfucker down.
Burn, motherfucker. Burn, motherfucker.
Oh my God!
That's-
Someone was angry.
Yeah, I mean, it had a lot of years of resentment built up, and
Yeah. So they
She's-
never actually proved it was her.
but they still put her in jail.
Like she had a dress they found that had blood on it, and they found the axe that was used to bludgeon these people to death. Lovely. with blood on it. So they weren't being like, even if
I was gonna say, considering the time, I feel like it'd be so easy to get away with a death.
yeah, like bury the axe, you know, or throw it out in the
burn,
woods.
put the dress into the fire that you've just started.
Yeah.
Maybe the axe too, because at least like they've been bludgeoned.
Yeah.
So like, throw it in the fire. Throw your dress in the
Or
fire.
bury it or something. They're not gonna, like, in those days, you know, it's not like they were just beginning. Like, I think it was, like, if it was in the 1840s, I think it was around the 1860s, 70s,
So they were just starting to like
get fingerprints.
see. So like you
So
could have
you-
gone away with that so
You could have
easy.
gotten away with murder, and
So
yet you didn't.
but she didn't go to
But
school, so she wasn't smart.
She wasn't, yeah, that's right. She didn't know how to
She
read the
didn't
right.
know how to-
So how would she know to get rid of murder items or evidence or whatever? But in those days too, I think, now don't take this as gospel.
I'm taking it as gospel.
But there probably could be a lot more circumstantial evidence that could be introduced.
Oh, to
Rather,
a lot
because
more
They
kind
didn't
of
have the scientific evidence of
a
like.
little bit more of a like, oh, clearly based on this minute information we have,
Yes.
they're the murderers.
She looks guilty.
Look
and-
at her face.
And they,
Face of a frying
they
pan.
better go to prison anyways because they had a menage a trois. I'm sure the courtroom went ooh over that.
They're sinners.
I mean, there was a lot more stuff happening sexually speaking than they write about or
Oh,
whatever.
100%.
You know,
They make it seem like as if they didn't do anything except
Yeah.
for procreate for children.
Yes.
And I'm like, well,
yes.
there was a lot of children, so there was a lot of procreating.
Yeah, and you didn't always know who the dad was. That's why I think we should have a matriarchal society because you always know who your mom is.
Yeah.
You can't dispute that. It's like came out of this body, so I'm the mom.
Came from here. Right here.
Because I was just reading a book. I love the Bolin by Philippa Gregory.
Yes, okay.
So she writes about King Henry and all his wives, right? And it's really interesting because she puts a lot of theories out there. Now, none of it can be proven, but she is a world-renowned historian, particularly
so she's
for...
got like some,
Oh, yeah. Like, she's got a master's or
That's
PhD or
impressive.
something in it. And in particular, it's female history. Studies.
that's really cool.
So that's why her focus is on the queen, you know, and how that woman got there and all that kind of stuff. So Henry was very big on he needed a son, right?
Yeah,
and
that's all men usually were in that time.
Yeah, in that time, absolutely. So the first queen, she was a great queen, but she only had a daughter. And so
God forbid you only have daughters.
right? And
Can you
even-
imagine me back then with my two daughters?
Yeah. So even the next queen, the second queen that happened, you know, Henry had to divorce the first queen, and he declared that his daughter from that reunion, or from that union, I mean not reunion, was a bastard now. So not eligible
That's
for
such a
the...
dick thing to do.
Oh yeah, he was a huge dick. He was a huge dick. He didn't have a huge dick, but he was a huge dick.
He had to
liked
make
to-
up for it somehow, I guess.
He had a lot of narcissistic qualities. Let's just put it that way. Because he got to the point where he was head of the Church of England, and he felt that what he said and what he proclaimed, got that word, proclaimed as law. His word was law, and his word was the will and word of God.
Oh my God.
He felt everything he was saying and
Kinda
doing.
scary how.
Yeah,
So
it's
repeats itself.
it's like that's because before then they were a Catholic country, and they were ruled by the Pope. So the Pope had things that he could say, and King Henry, of course, King also ruled the country, but he had to work with the Pope and with the rules of the church. Now, when he first changed the church, where the Pope was not in power anymore, like he refused to see that power, they were still kind of Catholic. At least they called themselves Catholic, but they just didn't recognize the power of the Pope. Now, at the same time, the church was going through a bit of an upheaval because at one point they did have two popes, one near France and one in Italy.
I thought there was only ever one pope.
No, there was two popes, and they were feuding about and fighting about who was the right pope. Now, obviously, the Vatican City won. The Italian Pope,
Shocking.
and he had a lot of support. And then, of course, there was the whole, like, dispute about what's called Pope Joan, where a woman disguised herself
Oh.
because she wanted to be educated again.
The
Girls weren't
ways-
allowed,
Wow.
right?
Ways women went to go get educated. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't blame them.
Yeah. So she actually worked like one of the ways poor people could get educated was to join the church, and usually you gave a son over to the church. You would put sometimes an unmarried daughter into the nunnery and keep her in the convent, whatever kind of thing. But the way to get educated was through the priesthood. So this woman joined the priesthood and kept herself disguised as a woman, or I mean as a man, I'm sorry, so that she could get the full education, because she realized nuns don't get the education. They do a lot of grunt work and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean, there were some convents that did write stuff and whatnot, but anyways,
Few and far between.
few and far between. Yes. So yeah, so there one of the queens is rumored, and she lost her head. It was Queen Anne, the first one. Queen Anne? Yes. And she apparently had sex with her brother in order to beget a son, because she kept getting pregnant by Henry, but she kept miscarrying. And of course, the woman got blamed.
Yeah, God forbid it's the man's problem. I mean, not most of them, but I'm sure there was a lot of times it was a man.
Yeah. She went to further term with her brothers. Now, this is theory. This is not fact. Because her brother apparently was gay, and he got caught, and he got hung. I mean,
Oh, that's
yeah, he got hung
horrible.
for that. And he said on the platform, like the writer said, we aren't sure if he was, but there's a lot of evidence that he was. And before he died, you get your last words to say, and he apologized for buggery and being gay and stuff like that. I don't think he used the word gay, because
But whatever the term was probably at that time or whatever phrase.
exactly. And so when she went further into term, she did start labor and give birth, because in those days they didn't really do C-sections, but she gave birth. Apparently, the rumor is to this monster child that was very deformed and ended up dying. Of course, it didn't.
Well,
live.
I mean, you shouldn't be having children with your.
No, but she was so desperate.
Well, I
because-
mean, yeah, and like, who are you gonna trust more than your brother? And
Yeah.
like,
and who's not going to then lay claim to that child, right?
yeah, who's gonna be like, I don't, exactly.
Yeah.
And
so-
no risk of falling in love because they're gay. So
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, just some of the different things, like,
a little casual incest.
yeah, a little casual incest, a little casual gayness, and being killed for it.
I can't. I know. Can you imagine? That's just terrible to think of.
Yeah, no, but it was a crime for a long time.
Yeah, people didn't realize, like, even in this day and age, like, being gay was only legalized, like,
Yeah, it's a new.
it's still a new thing.
I mean, there's been history of it. Like, there's-
Forever.
yeah, there's
Forever.
lot-
And
yeah.
gay people, trans people, two-spirit people, there is tons and tons and tons
Yeah,
of, like, documented history
yeah,
of these people for years.
yeah, yeah.
Forever. They've been around forever. It's not a new thing. It was like, it's a new thing.
I don't know if it was illegal during like the Greek and Roman times, because there was a lot
Yeah,
of it
I don't
then,
know.
too.
I don't know. I honestly don't
And they
know
were
enough
known
about
for
history.
their big orgies, and I'm not just talking sexual, but food orgies too, right?
Yeah,
Like-
well, and there's a lot of gay drawings and depictions.
yeah, yeah, exactly, right.
Well,
So-
and I heard something too about it was very common as pirates for you to have basically like a man husband, like a gay husband.
Oh,
On
okay.
boats. Now, once again, I'm not a historian. I don't.
No,
Don't-
but I mean that kind of makes sense.
Like,
because
yeah, 'cause-
you're on like it wasn't like a 3-day cruise you were on.
Yeah,
like, it was
you'd be,
months and months.
You'd be
and
on
months.
there, and like you could like basically be almost legally married to them. They would like if you were to die, they'd have a will, and they would all your stuff would go to like
Okay.
your partner. That
Okay. And like, it was considered bad luck to have a woman on board,
yeah,
right? And
this cursed woman.
yeah, and meanwhile they named a lot of their ships after women.
I feel like that just seems. Do you not see the irony in it? I don't
Yeah,
know.
right.
Women are cursed, but let's name our boat after one.
And it'd be scary on a pirate ship because you were often pressed into service, which means you were taken from the docks and just thrown on this boat and said, "This is what you're doing now."
And it's not like many of them could swim.
Yeah, no, most sailors couldn't
Excuse me.
swim, and so I remember reading about a battle between France and England, or Britain or whatever.
Somewhere.
And one of the British ships went down, and of course most of the people died because they couldn't swim.
God.
You know, so it was
Can you
a
imagine
death
being-
if your ship was sinking.
That's awful.
I mean, the ocean is hard to swim in.
Well, I was
anyways.
gonna say, like, you have to be a very strong swimmer.
Yeah,
because
extremely
you're
strong.
gonna be treading
It's-
water for a very long time.
It's not like swimming in a lake.
No, you have to be able to see land, and even then, just because you see land, that's like hours away.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah,
And
that's
and
not
when
if
you're
you're fighting the
swimming,
current
you can get,
either.
You can get turned around so easily. So if you're swimming for a couple of hours, you're not necessarily going in a straight
No,
line.
well, you don't know what. Yeah, and if the current takes you away, like, or if you're
Or-
fighting the current,
Or
while
if you're just, you're not watching because you get disoriented.
yeah, you're just trying to go, and you get tired and dehydrated, and God knows what else.
yeah, and you're in water and you're dehydrated.
I know,
'Cause it's
So,
salt
you know,
water.
you can't drink it; you'll just get worse.
Yeah, exactly.
The irony of it all.
Although, you've heard stories about dolphins saving people too, right? Like, that'd be awesome if there was a dolphin that came out around, and
Yeah, they also
they'll protect you from sharks too.
really.
Yeah, I've heard that. So, but I've also heard sharks will circle you and be like, this looks like a tasty morsel.
That would really scare me.
That would freak
But
me
I mean,
out.
that being said, sharks don't often eat people.
No,
But
no.
but if you're in the open ocean, I've heard it's
But if-
often because you look like a seal. So like
Yes.
when you're down below and they look up and they see this thing,
they'll
they're
do a test bite.
like, yeah,
And then
if
the blood
'cause
happens.
yeah,
And
then
that's what kind of.
yeah, but oftentimes they don't like the taste of humans. I've heard they don't actually like the taste of us.
That was a little bitter. Okay, never mind. George, let's go to another
So
place.
I don't know how they would determine such information. Like the shark wrote a review on Yelp. Human tasted terrible.
Exactly. Latitude, longitude. There's where the human is. The Yelp review is don't go there. The food is terrible. Very bitter.
I've always wondered that because I've heard that. Now, once again, I don't know if that's true, but I've heard that. I'm like, but how would they know? Like,
Yeah.
what did the? I mean, maybe
Like, do they pass it along like crows do?
I don't
Don't
know.
eat the humans. They're very bitter.
It only
for the
dies
taste.
because each of them keep going like, oh yeah, that is awful. Like, Ted, try this piece of meat. It's terrible.
Kevin likes the bitter things. Go eat that thing.
He eats anything. He's like a trash bin.
Exactly.
Oh my god, that's all I can imagine. But
Oh, my
that would be
goodness.
scary. I always want to go on a cruise though. I've told
Oh
you I
yeah.
want to go on a cruise.
Yeah, cruise. The cruise ships they have these days, it's like a floating town.
It's pretty intense. I've been thinking like, dude, because the kids always want to go to Disney, and I was like, oh, we could do a Disney cruise because I
Yeah.
do going to like Disney and doing all the ride stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds like
It's like, a fair ramped up
it sounds like too much
to the 100th degree. Probably a ton of lines.
Ton of lines. It's not
A
like
lot of walking.
lot of walking, and then you have to be mindful as a fat person whether or not you fit in the seats. Now, I'm on a group that tells you information. They're like usually pretty good about telling you
Oh.
like, and Disney's usually pretty good about having test seats.
Okay.
So you can test to see like before you get on the ride, take all this time to wait whether or not you'll fit on the seats.
Ah, that's cool.
So there's like a lot of things they do, but it just sounds
weirdly for
so unappealing
for
to
a
me.
fat person, I fit into this. I'm like a raccoon. I can fit into the smallest areas. People
fit through that crack right now.
Well, even some people
Sorry.
said, "Well, the bathroom's pretty small. Are you going to be okay?" And I fit in fine. I'm like, "What's the?"
I know.
deal,
I've never
you know?
really had many issues that way. The only thing
Yeah.
is if something is really tight on the hips.
Yeah, it
'Cause
can get
sometimes
sore if you're sitting there
for
a
too
long
time. Because
Yeah.
sometimes I don't know why places do this. Get those stupid metal chairs,
Oh.
but they get them with the handles that go like
Yes.
that. And so then you're being like, it's like, okay, well, I can fit in the chair, but what's digging into my hip bone is exactly where that thing is. And like
Yeah.
I tell you, like these chairs, even he has issues, and he's not a big guy either.
Right.
I mean, he's got a
Booty.
big-
Yep.
He's got booty.
Yep.
And hips, and I like that about him. But he's got them. But I'm like thinking to myself, like, you have to be a pretty skinny
First of all,
person.
Do away with the metal chairs.
Yeah, metal chairs are awful.
Unless they're padded in some way.
Well, and don't do handles, especially because
Yeah.
people are at tables anyways.
Yeah.
So most people aren't gonna want to like.
No, you want the room to swing around.
Yeah.
Because you might be throwing some elbows. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Well, and also too like when do you need your elbows resting, especially
No.
when you're eating
When
at a
you're
table or
eating-
drinking a beer, or like you're
Yeah.
not gonna need that.
You're not
And
sitting
it
there going,
takes
oh,
less-
geez, I could really use an armrest
Well, and
right
it
now.
takes less space up in your restaurant. If you have
It
a
does.
smaller restaurant,
Well, these chairs that we're sitting on,
don't have it. It's great.
but they have some that had handles. I got rid of the ones with the
I'm
handles.
glad you did, because I do actually remember some of the ones with the handles, and those were annoying. I
They
didn't like
are
them.
annoying. They don't fit under a table just right. I can put more people in here without the handles if I need to, and all that kind of
And
stuff.
that way
so.
too, if someone has like issues, like if like I'm fat, but I'm not that wide.
Right.
But like if someone was even bigger than me,
Yeah.
or like what if someone had like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like some type of injury or something,
Yeah.
like, where maybe you need, to be more off on this side or something.
Who
I don't know.
knows? Yeah.
I don't know.
You need to sit sideways.
You need to sit,
Sit half off the seat.
you need to sit a certain way. Like you don't need it.
Why are you sitting like that? Because
The only time I want big arms is if I'm in a big armchair.
Yeah.
That's nice
Yeah.
and big anyway, so I don't have to worry about whether or not it
lazy
fits
boy.
my...
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want arms then. But outside
At
of
a
that,
restaurant though?
no, you don't need that. No, not
So
at
some
all.
of the chairs, I feel always, sometimes when I look at chairs, I'm like, you wonder, like, what were they thinking when they bought this?
And I've seen on patios, because Kingston's a big
Patio
patio town,
place.
especially in the summer. I've seen some
summer.
restaurants with metal chairs out there. You
that
will
gets hot.
burn your ass off.
And not all of them are covered, so it's not like, oh, well,
Most
it's going to
of
be in
them
the
aren't,
No,
and it's just
there's a
like-
few, but it's few and far between.
Yeah, and it's like, what are you thinking? Obviously they were on sale, or they're cheaper.
But they're cheap. But and I get like, okay, easy clean because you can just wipe it down.
Yeah, but
I'm
you can
like,
clean plastic too, or
I know.
or wood or whatever.
would be better. Would be more expensive.
Yeah, wood would definitely be more expensive. So I get, like, if you're doing the plastic thing, I get that. It doesn't get as
There
hot.
has to be some type of alternative. I mean, plastic
But-
does get hot though too.
Yeah, but not at. I've
Not
sat down on
not
a chair.
scald you, burn
Yeah,
you. I'm
where
gonna
it's
sue
like-
you now because I have burns on my arse.
Exactly.
Well,
Or
because it
metal
was-
tables. You put your arms on. You're like,
Oh,
whoa.
yeah. I know. I was thinking when I see metal, I'm like, okay, I get the idea behind it because
You're
it's like,
still playing with
I
those.
know, I can't help it. They're so fun.
No one can resist the carpa.
Was it
Carpa something or other.
Something. Remind us of what these are. The largest rodent.
Yes. So they're squishy, and everyone that's
Squishy?
come in can't stop
I
touching
know.
them.
We're just like the cutest and weirdest
You
thing.
boop them, or you squeeze them, or
And you
whatever.
Smush them and you smack them and you.
Exactly. But I think we've had a good run here.
Yeah, we didn't have too much to talk about today, but that's all right.
But if there's something you want us to talk about, we'll talk about anything, everything, and nothing at all.
Maybe next time I'll read that story I was telling you about.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
We'll do another Reddit reaction.
Yeah, because that one has all the updates, or at least all the updates of recent.
There you go.
And it was good.
There you go. So we'll line that up for next Wednesday. Until then, have a great week.
Yeah, and a good Remembrance Day, because
Yes.
that will have passed by the time we do our next one.
So we'll be celebrating, well, not
celebrate.
celebrating.
I was going to say, don't say celebrating.
No, we'll be
Recognizing, remembering.
yes, Remembrance Day and all the sacrifices that were made during that time.
Exactly.
And be thankful for the freedoms that we have because of the sacrifices.
Sacrifices, exactly.
Yes.
And make sure to wear your poppy on your left side. 'Cause
Yes.
Not everyone knows that.
Yes. And if any military people are watching, thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you. Very much so.
All right. That's
All right.
good.
Do you
I'll
want
let
me-
you do it.
Okay, yes, your old lady fingers.
That's right.